Just like in the movies, we gotta outdo and overdo the sound, right? Just on the movie side. So anyway. Guys, if you're curious, no, if you got excited, I'm like, wait, are they streaming not just the FIFA Cup? Are we gonna watch a movie? Like, no, okay, we can't do that. We'll get in trouble. All right, well, we're not streaming any movies illegally. No, okay, don't do that. No, don't worry. But anyway, guys, I want to welcome you to, this is our week 2, but what we are doing is we have this series called God on Film, which we like to do in the summer. And we like to focus on, in this case, this summer, we're focusing on 5 big budget blockbusters and talking about them and using something in them to help us to better see and better understand our bigger than life God. And so a couple weeks ago we did The Incredibles 2. I don't know if anyone's seen that one yet. Has anyone seen The Incredibles 2? A couple? Thumbs up, thumbs down? Yes, no, maybe so? Thumbs up? Has anyone seen Jurassic Park 2, Fallen Kingdom yet? Thumbs up, thumbs down? Right? Jurassic World, that's Jurassic Park. I said Jurassic Park, did I? I don't know. Jurassic World. Anybody like it? I haven't seen it yet, and so I'm very anxious to see it. Well, anyway, so that's the movie we're going to watch today. Now, real quick, did anybody, who's ever seen the first one? The original, Jurassic Park. All right, it's one of my favorites. I think it's one of the best ones that they've done. But I remember when that one came out, and, over 20-something years ago. I remember when that one came out, and man, I was at the edge of my seat, right, the entire time. I mean, it was great storytelling, amazing, just effects. The whole thing, when that came out, that thing was, it's so good. I mean, now, it's just amazing. Not just the quality of everything. As of now, I think there's 5, right? 5 movies total. There's Jurassic Park 1, 2, 3, and Jurassic World 1 and 2. And all of those movies, right? And they're all different, but they're all the same. I mean, right? They're all kind of the same. And there's this one theme, though, not just dinosaurs killing people. That's not the theme, right? But there is this one theme that was outlined in the very first movie. If you've seen it, you know the quote. But if you might have never seen the whole, how it ties into all the movies. Now, I don't know if they did this on purpose, but this is just what I've noticed. And now, I'm not sure if he was in the commercial, but one of the, Jeff Goldblum, he's one of the actors. He was in the original one. He's been in many of these. He is in the movie Jurassic Park, in the original one, and in the franchise. His name is Dr. Ian Malcolm. And in the original movie, they bring him on because obviously there's this man who's created this park full of dinosaurs, and he wants some approval from different people before they open it up to the public. And Dr. Ian Malcolm was one of those, and he has this quote, and I think we have it, we're going to share it really quick. And he has this quote, and he says this: "Your scientists were so preoccupied with whether they could, they didn't stop to think if they should." All right? So it's this amazing little question, because obviously he wasn't a fan of the idea of, hey, these dinosaurs are extinct. We haven't lived on the same planet for a while. And, he was in favor of saying, look, I don't think we should bring back an extinct species into a world that they don't recognize, that they don't understand. And so he was iffy about that. Wasn't a big fan, right? But I love that, when they started realizing, wait, we can build a dinosaur, a real one. And I love that idea of could we versus should we. And there was something here. Obviously, what's amazing is that in the first part, he kind of sees you know what? Maybe we should have learned our lesson, right? Before we opened up a park, we saw these dinosaurs, that plan totally backfired, right? Killed a lot of people. And so, obviously, logically, let's just keep on going, right? That's kind of the idea. And so notice that in every following movie, the scientists never stop to say, hey, should we keep on making dinosaurs? Because it doesn't work out always. Well, we can. Why not? And so you notice in every movie they continue to push the envelope, especially in the last 2, Jurassic World 1 and 2. They push the envelope with what they could do. And they keep on building dinosaurs, and dinosaurs keep on killing people, right? And they just keep on going, keep on going. Now, I love that quote. That quote really hit me. Especially when I thought of this, because see, guys, I want you to know this is what I believe. There's an internal struggle in mankind, in you, in me, not just in people in movies. There's an internal struggle in mankind that has this debate. Could we? Should we? Could we do this? Yeah, but should we? There's a debate, there's something that we internally, you and I, whether we think about it or not, if you take a second, you realize we wrestle with that question a lot. And that lies, and our ability to answer that properly, not just properly, but I think our inability to answer properly, is a big root to a lot of the problems that we're facing in the world today. It's not just, can I, but really, should I? I have the right to do something, but does it make it right if I do this? For example, I have the freedom of speech. I have the right to say what I want to say. But should I always say it? There's sometimes a yes, and there's sometimes, I don't know, maybe should have, I don't know, freedom of speech. And so, hey, but I have the right not to forgive you, but does it make it right? You see what I'm saying? And so there's this debate between could we, should we? I mean, man, little kids do that all the time. I see my kids all the time. If they want to do something, they know they shouldn't, but because they want to, and man, let's be honest, we don't grow out of that, right? We still don't grow out of that. I'm like, I know I shouldn't, but I can. I want to. I'm grown. I'm grown. I'm doing it. Whatever. I don't know. So we do that a lot. And the thing is, guys, at the debate, at the question that we're really debating there, versus could we and should we, is creation wrestling with the idea of replacing the Creator over Lord of all and who gets to call the shots. Not just could we, but who determines should we? And is it right? And is it wrong? And so there's something that plays out in a unique way. We're going to read this text in the Bible. This is at the very beginning, Genesis 11, 1 through 4. Now this is at the very beginning of the Bible. And what's amazing is that this conversation and these actions that happen at the beginning, actually, much like the movies, like the Jurassic Park, that quote kind of plays out. No one stops to ask anymore, should we? They just keep on, well, we could, so let's just do it. And so this scenario plays out at the beginning of the Bible. The beginning of time, we're very close to the early history, early man history, and especially with our faith in the Jewish people. And this conversation and this way of thinking not only plays out consistently throughout the Bible, but still in our lives today. And so let's read Genesis 11, 1 through 4. And so we have it on the screen. I'm going to read it here. It says, now the whole earth had one language and the same words. And as people migrated from the east, they found a plain in the land of Shinar and settled there. And they said to one another, come, let us make bricks and burn them thoroughly. And they had bricks for stone and bitumen for mortar. Then they said, come, let us build ourselves a city and a tower with its tops in the heavens. And let us make a name for ourselves, lest we be dispersed over the face of the whole earth. So this conversation, this event, well, the Bible calls it the story of the Tower of Babel. Now, it's a very short story. I mean, there's much within the next chapter. It kind of unravels and then it moves on. This story in the timeline actually follows Noah. So if you know anything about Noah and the ark and the flood, all those things, this precedes that. And so what happens now is that God has given this restart, this reset for mankind. And he gives the same command that he gives Adam and Eve to have dominion over the world. And really that command is say, hey, there is chaos out of this world. Bring order into the chaos. That's what it is. In fact, when Adam and Eve, when the Bible talks about Adam and Eve living in a garden, the whole earth was not a garden. The Jewish culture and tradition says that the Garden of Eden was the only thing that was kept, and God was the only one that kept it. The rest of the world was untamed. The rest of the world was chaotic. And God called Adam and Eve and his people to say, go out into the world and bring order into chaos. Bring light into the darkness. And so things went wrong. Noah happened, a scenario. We had to reset everything. And then God starts the command again. Go out into the world, have dominion. Bring order into chaos. Bring light into darkness. And so what happens is now we begin to see things a little differently. Mankind doesn't necessarily say, hey, should we do this? And well, I don't know if we could do that, but I don't know. And so they didn't do it. They didn't follow God's instructions. Instead of spreading out, instead of going to conquer the world, they huddled together. They stayed together as one. In fact, following this conversation, God enters in the story. And God actually becomes critical of this scenario, this circumstance. The Bible says that following the next couple verses, God actually says, look, these guys, all these people are united. They are one. And there's nothing that's going to stop them now. So I'm going to step in and break up this party. And so I'm going to go and we're going to confuse the languages. And we're going to introduce different dialects and reset the brains. And now they can't talk to each other. They can't communicate with each other. And so we're going to cause division where there was unity. Now, that sounds messed up, doesn't it? Sounds a little messed up at first. I'm like, wait, God, what's the deal? First off, isn't that a good idea? Hey, they're all united. They're one. They're focused. They're accomplishing. They got goals. They're doing one thing. I thought God loves unity. Why is God bringing division where there's unity? And when God says there's nothing that's going to stop them now, so is God jealous? God a little competitive here? I'm like, I got to stop this because if not, there's nothing that's going to stop. So when you read the story, it kind of sounds, sometimes maybe you don't understand God's heart. But when you look at the context, and you pull out a little bit more, and you begin to see the whole picture, you begin to see a little bit of what God was thinking and feeling. See, the idea of creating this tower, the idea of creating Babel, okay, notice it was like, hey, let us do something. But really, there was a brainchild of one individual, and his name was Nimrod. All right, he shows up in the Bible in Genesis 10, so the chapter before. The Bible calls Nimrod a great hunter before the Lord. And so Nimrod, in this story, Nimrod actually begins to conquer city, kind of like groups and tribes and city-states. And he begins to unify the people, unify tribes, bring them all together. In fact, the Babel, this one area, is one of those places he's considered to have conquered. And that's where they want to kind of set up what would be this maybe capital city kind of scenario. And so he goes up, and this idea of being a hunter before the Lord, all right, is a unique phrase here. Because again, what did I say? God said, have dominion over the earth. He told Adam and Eve, have dominion over the earth. And then he tells Noah and his descendants, have dominion over the earth. But Nimrod wanted to have dominion over people. He wanted to have dominion over people. And that was never part of God's plan. In fact, Nimrod, guys, is according to the Bible, according to biblical scholars and history, Nimrod was the world's first dictator, first totalitarian, king, self-proclaimed king, first one. He was the first one to try to set up what would be what we look today, again, totalitarian regimes like we call it communism, socialism, things like that, where you have a small group of elites controlling the masses. This is the first time we see it in human history that's documented. It's with Nimrod. All right? In fact, even Nimrod is in English. I don't know if it's in Spanish it works the way, but I know in English, if you call somebody a Nimrod, you're calling them an idiot. I don't know if you've ever heard them say that. So he was like, bro, don't be a Nimrod. I don't know, we don't use that today. I'm like, hashtag, don't be a Nimrod. No, it don't work. But if you ever heard somebody, bro, don't be a Nimrod, you're saying don't be stupid. Don't be stupid. Because, see, why do we associate Nimrod with being dumb? First off, he was a great hunter before the Lord. You know what that means? He was not just a hunter of animals. He was a hunter of people. That's what Nimrod was. He was a hunter of people who desired to, manipulate and strategize, not just physically, but mentally, socially, emotionally, and to capture and to control people. And he was a great hunter before the Lord, meaning against the Lord. He didn't want to follow God's rules. He wanted to face off and say, God, forget you. I think I got a better plan. I'm going to, Nimrod's pretty much his case he's making with the people. Hey, I don't want to be God. I want a shot at being God. And so he desires to control people, take the place of God in their lives, and rule instead of God. So now when the Bible says, when later on, when God says, I need to stop this because they are so united, there's nothing that's going to stop them now. If you think of right now, you look at history, just in the last 100 years. If you look at every totalitarian regime, any empire, any political form of government where the elites control and run the masses, each one, especially over the last 150 years, has led to the most incredible atrocities in history. Millions of people have died at the hands of totalitarian regimes, and they kill their own people for the greater good. And so you think of anything like that, it never works. And so when God stepped in to confuse the languages, to break it up, is because he went to set people free. Because he knows, man, they got everybody so controlled that there's nothing. Who's going to stop them? They're running the show. They are literally the world's first empire, the way it's running. Who's going to stop them from the atrocities they are not just committing, but they can commit? If they've already done this, there's nothing that's going to stop them now. And so God does. He steps in, confuses the languages, and sets people free. And so notice that God's idea is not out of jealousy, out of hate, out of anger. It's out of compassion, out of love. And he said, no, because Nimrod was going to say, hey, we don't need God. We can do this. We can do this ourselves. Now, at Nimrod's, we can see Nimrod's heart and the heart of his people that are there leading this. There's these two idols that are present. Not just in the story. It's also actually present in the Jurassic Park movies, and it's present in your life, in my life. And here's those two idols. Significance and security. Significance and security are two idols, two themes that we see pop up. See, you notice it when they first said, let us build a building, right? Let us build a building. And actually, the phrase they actually say is, let's make a name for ourselves. Did you guys read that part, right? They was like, hey, let's just do something. No. Why do they want to build these buildings? Why were they building this empire? Because, hey, let's make a name for ourselves. There's the significance there. Hey, let's do something. Let's be somebody great. And they thought that they can find their true significance in their work, in their efforts, in themselves. And then the security part pops in. Hey, let us make a name for ourselves and build this country, build this empire, lest we be dispersed. What was that? Least something happened to us. Hey, least we follow God's rules. Because that's what God was calling us to do, to go and bring order into this world, to spread who he is and what he's done. And so he's like, hey, we need to set a name for ourselves so we are not dispersed. So notice the security in that statement. So in the Jurassic Park movies and Jurassic World movies, it's the same thing, right? I mean, why do they build dinosaurs? Why do they make the parks and all those things? For financial security. All right, hey, it was like, who wouldn't? Bro, we're going to be rich. Like, could you imagine? We got a park, you can touch and see dinosaurs, right? I mean, who's not going to want to pay money to go to one of these? And so you see the big driving force of making, in the movies, they keep on making things and doing this and doing that. Why? For the financial security part, right? It's like, oh, we're going to make some money. And then what not? And then what's the other one? The significance part. Like, if you're a scientist, and this was real, who wouldn't want to be a part of getting to craft a dinosaur? You know what I'm saying? Like getting to build that, getting to be a part of history. And so there was a lot of significance and security present in the movies, driving the thinking process and decisions. But then you see it, so in the Tower of Babel. They wanted to make a name for themselves, right? They wanted to make a name for themselves to produce a certain result. And guys, just like in the movies, and just like in Babel, okay, people, we tend to look to influencers. Okay, and an influencer, guys, by the way, just want you to know it's even a cultural term. If right now, I guarantee you, all right, an influencer, you have influencers that are influencing you, whether you like it or not. An influencer is a term that's given, especially on social media, to people with a large group of following. Okay, so if you follow individuals on social, this is not new. Influencers are usually famous people, okay? This is from forever, all right? So even before social, they were influencers. People with power, people with money, people that, hey, with Midas, if I wear this one shirt, I don't care how ridiculous it is, everyone's going to wear it because they want, it's now going to be cool because I put it on, right? Versus if I would put it on, people would laugh. Or whatever, you know what I'm saying? It's like the most ridiculous thing. Like, I'm not going to put on like so-and-so, LeBron and Cam Newton and certain individuals, they can put on a male romper and rock it. I put on a male romper and my wife will kill me, okay? I'm like, I ain't do that. I ain't gonna do one of those, Some people just got that sauce, some people just got that ability to do something, and when they do it, man, everybody's gonna copy it because, hey, that person do it. That's called an influencer. Guys, we all have influencers in our lives. Some of it is our parents, some of it are mentors, people that we look up to. If they say it, I believe it. If they like it, now I like it. We all have this thing where we look to influencers for our significance. We all do it, whether we think about it or not. And we all even look to our own, even technological innovations. Just like Babel, they were creating something, a technological innovation that was going to give them security and significance. Jurassic Park, technological innovations, creating DNA replications and all these things. Guys, we look to the same things. We look to our influencers and especially our creations, our innovations, our economics, for security. To help us to feel either safe or better about whatever it is. And the thing is, guys, that we do these things. We seek out these influencers, and we seek out these technological innovations to create something that only the Creator can fit. Only the Creator can satisfy. Guys, we do this because we all feel disconnected. Think about it. I love the analogy, which I left my phone over in my room. I know some of you guys, if you ever, where's my phone? Now, we pause and your heart will skip a beat. You don't know where it is. But guys, the way I like to look at it is we're all like a phone. Like the second we're born, we have 100% battery life, but we're disconnected. We're living life and the battery is going down. And we're all looking to find some connection to give us life. Because we feel deep inside, we all know it, there's something in us that we look to, again, whether our hobbies or influencers or activities or different things to give us life because we feel that we're missing something. We all do. This is why we run this so much. That's why we fill our lives with so many things. That's why we spend the money that we do. That's why we think the way we do. We all have this innate feeling of being disconnected, and we are seeking a source to produce certain results that we want to see. And Jesus, see, that's what God stepped in and said, wait a minute, man was trying to replace me. And it's not going to work like that. It's just going to end in death. It's going to end in frustration. This isn't going to work. So God stepped in to spread out, to free the people, to remind them, I am that source. But you have to choose. Jesus actually says this years later, 1,000 years later. Jesus talks about that source. Guys, I want you to read it with me. John 15, 4 through 5. Jesus talks about where to find the source of security and significance. Where is the source of security and significance? Jesus talked about it. It says here, abide in me, and I in you. As the branch cannot bear fruit by itself unless it abides in the vine. Neither can you unless you abide in me. For I am the vine, you are the branches. Whoever abides in me and I in him, he it is that bears much fruit. For apart from me, you can do nothing. So here we see Jesus says, guys, hey, if you want to see the fruits of security and significance, if you want to see the fruits, you got to develop those roots. And those roots are connected to me, to God. And so he says there, abiding in the love of God is the only thing that can produce those fruits. And we see that word, abide is not one that we use a lot. We actually had a whole series early in the beginning of the year. If you're in high school, middle school, you probably remembered us talking about this in January. To abide, I love what Jesus gives this physical analogy. To abide is to what? Think of a tree. Think of a branch. All right? To abide is to do what? It's the same way that a branch is connected to the trunk of a tree. That's abiding. That's a picture for you. Abiding is not just disconnecting, connecting, disconnecting, connecting, disconnecting, connecting. If I had right now, some of you guys noticed, maybe you haven't, but there's a massive tree that's missing in our parking lot. Okay, you see that big ball of mulch? If you didn't know, maybe a couple weeks ago, we had to cut down the tree. Massive tree that we had there. And it was a big oak tree. And the reason why we had to cut it down is because it was sick on the inside. And praise God, there was this scenario we started noticing that, hey, well, we got to get rid of this tree. It's not looking good. In fact, then right when we had scheduled to have it cut down, one of the large branches actually fell off. And, praise God, it was like in the middle of the night. No one was around. And so, more confirmation. So we had to hurry up the process because, hey, we didn't want that to happen under any other circumstances. So we saw that. And so, see, let's say that branch, had fruit on it. Could we have just reattached that branch back? Well, maybe. And, there are some ways you can graft branches back in. But what if we continued to break the branch and every week just connect it for like an hour on Sundays? And what if we just connected the branch with fruit to the tree for an hour a week? And once a week, and maybe 5 minutes in the morning, and disconnected it and just kind of walked off. Would that branch ever survive? Of course not. Would that branch ever produce fruit ever again? No, it would be dead. And so abiding is not this. Abiding is not disconnect, connect, disconnect, connect, disconnect, connect. Abiding is that. It's solid. The same way a branch can become one with a tree. Which again is amazing on that. You guys know it's called grafting. You can take a branch from a different tree or anything else, graft it to another tree, and it will become one. And it will produce fruit to different things like that. That is what God says. That's what He wants from us. He doesn't just want our attendance once a week. Man, he wants our attention, guys. Look, he wants our heart. He wants us and him to be like this. That is to abide. That word abide means to not just to connect to God as the source, but to persevere, to remain, despite whatever's happening in your life. And we do that abiding, guys, individually, through our personal devotion through the Lord, through prayer, through what we're doing now, the study of Scripture, right? Ultimately, though, abiding in the love of God is more about a growing relationship than it is about following like a set of rules, guys. That's not what it is. Abiding is not following rules. It's about a growing relationship. It's about a lifestyle and a mindset more than it is a checklist. That's what abiding means. And Jesus says, when you abide in me like that, when your faith is like this, I mean, you can bend, maybe your faith might bend, man, but if it doesn't break, and you abide in me, I will produce something in you that you cannot find anywhere else. Notice he said, apart from me, you can do nothing. You and I cannot reproduce the fruits that only God can do outside of God. We, as a creator, as creation, were made and created to connect to our Creator. Only He can produce the things that we're looking for, the things when we reach out to an influencer, to someone else, to something to fill us with. Guys, only God can do that. True significance and security, guys, listen, is being dependent on God, not independent. That's what Jesus was talking about there. True dependence on God. I'm sorry. True significance and security is found in being dependent on God, not living independent. In a couple of days is July 4th. We have July 4th falls on a Wednesday this year, right? As we celebrate our nation's Independence Day. By the way, we have a special service here on a Wednesday. Normally we just have our middle school and high school groups here. But we're actually going to have a special bilingual service on July 4th, this Wednesday, where we're not only going to just take about an hour to be with each other, praise God, acknowledge, pray for our nation, and then we're going to have like some fireworks, post-service, and everything like that. So that's going to be this Wednesday. But 4th of July, why do we celebrate? Because of our Independence Day, right? And it's called the Declaration of Independence. And so we celebrate the signing of that document. July 4th is the day that we don't celebrate the day we won our independence. We celebrate the day we decided to be free, because the war was still going on. We never celebrate the day that the British surrendered. We celebrate the day we decided to be free. That's what we celebrate. July 2nd, July 4th was the official times. And one of the things, guys, that a lot of people, it's hard for them to grasp. It's a lot of things. It's very hard for them to want to, especially in this world today, in what we're living in. But that declaration of independence is a declaration of independence from man's rule, but it is actually a declaration of dependence for the rule of God. It's a lot for us. Some people are like, man, no, it's garbage. Fire and play. Don't believe it. I'm sorry, but it is. The declaration of independence is of independence from the rule of man and dependence on the hand of God. It just is. And when you look at the founders, guys, it's not just Ben Franklin, Washington, none of those guys, and Jefferson. It was over 250 individuals who helped craft not just the Declaration, but the Constitution. And so many constitutions in the original 13 colonies. And a lot of things that are beyond the Bill of Rights. And so it wasn't just 2 or 3 guys that had a good idea like Nimrod. Okay? This is a group of 250 some odds and even more. The majority of them held divinity degrees, but there were a good chunk of them were pastors. They all went to theology class. And so what they built was based on their study of world history. Guys like Nimrod and freedom and God's place in our lives. And they said, look, this system, the only way it's going to work, freedom only works. And John Adams even said it too. Freedom only works, and we were made for moral and religious people. That's what this system only works that way. Because if you're free to be however you want to be, and we're all not on the same page, hey, we're free to mess it up and we're free to fix it. That's kind of the beauty and the messiness of America. A lot of the things that we complain about, sometimes we don't realize that we have also the freedom to fix it. Unlike other countries that, now they can because, hey, who led the way? And they're like, kind of a big deal. And so that statement, this idea, is bigger And a lot of it, and the way, this is how I know, guys, if you read the whole declaration, which I challenge you to do, they speak about all the different ways that we're saying, look, we are declaring independence from Great Britain because of X and Y, X and Y, X and Y, X and Y. And then they finish it with another declaration. With, the protection of divine providence. Under the protection of divine providence. We dedicate our lives, our fortune, and our sacred honor. That's how it finishes. And divine providence is not just some wishy-washy statement. If you look at the debates, which we still have their debates, we still have their writings, we have their letters of all the people who wrote this. And we know when they said words, we know what those words meant. And when they said divine providence, they were speaking of the hand of God. And really the God of the Judeo-Christian. That's why America's a Christian nation, not because we're full of Christians. America's a Christian nation because it was influenced by the Christian faith more than anything else. And so it has this flavor to it. But see, that declaration was a declaration of independence from man, but it was a declaration of dependence on God. They were pretty much saying, look, we're declaring our freedom and we're going to put our faith in God that this is going to work, because we don't even know. At this point, guys, they didn't even think they were going to survive. The writers who wrote that, they didn't even think they were going to make it. Because they had their backs against the wall. These were an army of farmers and teenagers up against the most elite fighting force of the world. And they said, look, we're going to be free or die trying. Give me liberty, give me death. Legitimately, that's what they were going for. And they said, we're going to put our faith in God. Guys, that's what abiding looks like. That's what abiding looks like. Abiding looks like, look, the circumstances don't look ideal. The circumstances are a little difficult. The circumstances, I'm not sure, they're a little shaky. But I'm going to abide. I'm going to trust in God to carry me through. Trust in God to guide me through. That is abiding. Before the victory happens. It's this faith before you see the victory. And that only can happen, guys, when we trust and put our faith in Jesus. See, when we don't do that, guys, if we replace our Creator, you know what we do? We build idols, just like these guys did. We build idols in our lives. And these idols will cause us to experience, instead of promising and giving us significance and security, guys, any idol, by the way, is not just a little figurine that you put on a shelf and, kill chickens and stuff like that. Not like that. Okay? An idol is anything or anyone. It could be a thought, it could be an idea, it could be people, it could be stuff, it could be good things. And an idol is anything that you replace God with as your source of life. That's an idol. And if you desire to seek out an idol to give you security and significance, you are only going to experience insignificance and insecurities. That's the only thing an idol. We go to idols to give us life. But idols take life. They don't give us life. They drain life from us. It asks and asks and asks and never fully gives us what we're looking for. And so it is but it's different, guys, with God. See, idols like the dinosaurs in Jurassic Park, okay, wreak havoc in our lives. Okay, just like in any movie, the dinosaurs just wreak havoc all day. And guys, idols, when we place idols on the pedestal of our hearts, idols, just like those dinosaurs in the movies, wreak havoc in our lives. But here's the bottom line, guys. We begin to experience, when we begin to abide in the love of God, we begin to experience the aid of God. I want you to let that sit for a minute. The bottom line, guys, this one thing I want you to see is this, that when we begin to abide in the love of God, you will begin to experience the aid of God in your life. It was around, forgive me, I was going to look this up, and I'm totally just mental gap right now. There's an amazing quote from Benjamin Franklin, one of the most least religious individuals during the founding era, and I can't remember if this was, I think this was during they were writing the Constitution, and there was some issues, there was some problems, there was a lot of things going down, and they just couldn't get things right. And so he stops and says, guys, wait a minute. Actually, I'm sorry, this was during the Constitution. He says, wait a minute, guys. When the war was going down, when we were in trouble, and we thought we were going to lose, how often were we praying? A lot. Okay, all we did was pray. And then, by the way, that's documented. That's what they did. Okay, and so all we did was pray. Because we didn't have a prayer. We had no prayer to win, so all we would do was pray. Remember that, guys? And now we won. God showed up. God helped us. And it's like we forgot all about him. I mean, this is Ben Franklin talking. And he says, I'm paraphrasing, but he's saying, yo, we forgot all about him. And now here we are, we're trying to build a nation, and we're trying to build it without God. He's the one that won us the victory. And here we are, like we've not abided any longer. How are we going to do this? How are we going to do this? He actually says it, and he has, look, we need to stop and pray for a couple of days. We need to stop and pray. And he actually had this, and this is the quote that he says. It's like, he quotes one of the Bible scriptures. If a sparrow cannot fall without God's knowledge, can a nation rise without his aid? Was his question. Again, it's the same idea what Jesus was talking about. Can we produce certain results without God? We couldn't produce that one victory. And guys, there's a lot of us here, and look, I'll put myself in this spot. Trouble, things going down. Man, we're praying. Some of us, we pray the most when the problem is the messiest. We pray the most when the problems are messy. We're the most faithful, right? When we're just going through something. But then when things are better, and we feel better, there's the temptation of, I got things good, right? And we move on. And I was like, oh, can we continue on doing what we're doing and produce certain results without God when we needed Him to produce different results? Wow. And that's that abiding, guys. We will begin to experience the aid of God. When you learn, guys, this is it. Branch. Abide. God's love. Some of us, if maybe you've been looking for God to show up in your life. Guys, God wants to show up in your life. And He probably has in ways you haven't even noticed yet. But you want to really see Him show up? Don't just show up once a week. Or don't just show up when your prayers for meals. That's not abiding. You can't experience the true aid in the hand of God. I just kind of live and disconnected. But when you place your faith in Jesus, that's abiding. You begin to see and experience something truer, deeper, and more profound. But it is only through abiding in God that you can abide in His love. Guys, and that's one way that you can get security and significance. Look, I'm not like I'm just like a lot of you. Some of you may be willing to admit this more than others, but I've struggled with insignificance a lot. Just in general, just feeling, not good enough, feeling unworthy of this or that. And I tried finding my things and finding my replacements, trying to do this, trying to do that to feel better about myself. But guys, what I can tell you now, from me and my experience, there is nothing that can replicate and outdo what God has done in my life. Like talking about significance. We look to our parents for significance and approval, or our teachers or pastors or whatever else. We look to just things, to do things, to feel important. Guys, nothing in this world can replace the Creator of this world.
Amen.
Only He can produce in you the level of significance. Only He can help you see your value and your worth in a way that is not prideful, not in a way that is greater than others. Because see, when we try to abide in the rule of man, then the insignificant parts, it's just messed up. That's why we see groups thinking that they're outdoing and better than the other. Whether it's the way we think or the way we look. All that imbalance is because God's not the one bringing that balance in. Those are rotten fruits. Because there's rotten roots. God's not the source of that. But when we put our faith in Jesus, guys, He gives you a level of significance and worth and value that you can't find anywhere else. And security, man, look. Talking about, I don't know if, let me just give you a little heads up. I take what I do seriously. Especially now. I know that talking about being an influencer, I know that I can say a word and somebody can buy it hook, line, and sinker and live their life based on that. And that was a good word. Scares crap out of me, I guess a good way. Because I got to make sure I'm saying what I'm saying. I don't want to be off. Because I don't want to leave any of you with a misunderstanding of God or anything else that now you've kind of gone one way. So I take what I do seriously. I like to pray and plan. This sermon itself, I've been thinking about for almost 2 months. And it was chosen to be on this day months before that. And it's amazing how there's sermons that have been pre-planned for forever, and the day I need to say something, it's like all of the circumstances in my life are like lining up perfectly. It's ridiculous, okay, how that works sometimes. And when I looked at having to preach about security, I'm like, wow. Because that's a little bit of what my wife, we're kind of dealing with right now, is dealing with emotional and mental security and stability in uncertain circumstances. There's, what's that one phrase, if it rains it pours, right? Something like that, right? I don't know if you ever heard that statement. Like, when one thing kind of happens, it just kind of goes all out. And there's been, over the last couple of weeks, probably 2 weeks, some scenarios, man. Things breaking around the house, things the air conditioning in our car, the blower motor went out. So, it's July in Florida, right? June in Florida, and I'm like, I've got to fix the blower motor. The dryer breaks, okay. I broke the dryer. It was an accident, okay? I tried to fix it, whatever. But it broke. It was a complete accident, okay? I broke it. Lesson learned. Unplug stuff. I can't believe I'm saying this out loud. Unplug electronic equipment before you work on electronic equipment. Unplug it first before. But anyways, so it happened. It was a mistake. That happened. Doorknobs now don't want to work, and so I gotta get new doorknobs, this and that, whatever. A bunch of scenarios. Okay, things are just going down.
Our toilet broke.
Oh my gosh, yeah, toilet broke. Okay, a little handlebar. Okay, that broke. A bunch of other things. And despite all the things that we're losing, this and that, I'm just gonna be completely transparent and honest. It's not for your sympathy. I just want to show you God, okay, for a second. All of that happening, and then my wife, she cleans houses, and she has, that's what she does, and so we lost a lot of her big accounts that are a lot of her regular accounts. And so here's this, wait a minute, like danger, like, wait, whoa, hold on now. And now school's starting, trying tuition and all this other stuff that we got doing, and so it's a crazy scenario, and so I'm telling you guys, okay, I only say this as a testimony for God because I ought to be panicking more than I am now, I guess.
No.
Exactly. But guys, God gives me He's given me a level of mental and emotional stability and security, despite unstable circumstances. And I knew it. And here's the thing about the dryer. Okay, it broke. I shared this testimony last Sunday at night, and so our dryer broke. And so for about a week, we had to go to my mom's because we're trying to figure out the scenario. Okay, by noon, we do this, we can't, we don't have money by noon. And so we were going to my mom's house, who lives about 30 seconds down the street. And we were going over there to dry my clothes, okay? So here I am, 35-year-old man, going to mom's house to do laundry, okay? Sad day, okay? Very sad moment. I'm like, Mom, can I do laundry? Okay, it was like so pathetic. And so here I am having to go to mom's house to do laundry because I can't afford a dryer. And so we go, but I'm telling you, it was this craziest thing. We looked at it, it happened, and we're like, all right, love, we prayed about it. We actually sat the kids down, we talked about it, we said, look, here's the scenario, guys. We're not gonna be able to go to the movies now because of this, we're gonna save money, but hey, let's pray, because we're gonna believe that God's gonna do something. We're gonna just trust in Him. So we had the kids, we talked to the kids about it, we prayed about it. So I'm doing laundry for about a week, okay, having to figure out this whole scenario, back and forth. I go over, all right, my brother is at my mom's house. Some of you guys know, but I'll just say, my brother, I have a younger brother. His wife, they have 5 biological kids, 3 adopted kids. And so they actually have made plans to move to Mississippi now, so Friday.